We are on to number 2. I want to quickly review the steps for finding the unit rate in the equation, so I'm going to grab this hand icon, which is the panning, so I can pan upwards. And it says, given a graph, find the unit rate in equation. Step 1, label the x and y axis. Step 2, choose a coordinate. Step 3, label the coordinate. Step 4, fill in the unit rate formula. And step 5, write the equation. All right, I go back down to the problem. And step 1 said for me to label the x and y axis. So I'll go over to Scribble, and I'm going to label x, and I will label y. And I want that to be a little bit thicker. And then I need to choose a coordinate. So I follow along the blue line. That point right there only has a horizontal grid line going through it. Horizontal grid line. Look, vertical grid line and horizontal grid line. I could use this one. Only horizontal, only horizontal. Oh, there's a horizontal and a vertical grid line intersection. And then there's one more up here. So I could choose any of those. So I'm going to use, I don't know, let's use this one, the first one. There's 1, 2 tallies between 0.4 and 0. So I take 0.4 and divide it by 2. Half of 0.4 is 0.2. So I know that my x value is 2/10. That's my x value. Then for my y value, all right, you count once you get to this first tally here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe you don't want to do all those loops. Maybe instead you just want to count 1, 2, 3, 4. So I take this 240 and divide it by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So 240 divided by 4 is 60. So we should be going up by 60. Let's see if that works. 60 plus 60 is 120. 120 plus 60 is 180. 180 plus 60 gets me to 240. That works great. So this must be 180. So my y value is 180. And now I'm going to start typing. So the x is hours. So I'm going to go to the left of x further like that. So that goes x 0.2 hours. That goes all together. And then the 180 goes with gallons. And then I move on. Once I've labeled my coordinate, I can go over here to fill in the unit rate formula. So I go back to the Scribble. I'm going to draw an equals sign, a fraction bar, and the word per. And then I'll go to a new color, and I will also click on the typing tool. So the top, the numerator is y. So I need the y value, which is 180 gallons. So I'll type that into the numerator, 180 gallons. And then I choose a different color. Let's see, that might show up well. And next I'm figuring out what the x value is. And the x value is 0.2 hours. So I'll go back to my typing tool. You could put 0.2 or 0.2 hours. Same thing. And then to find the unit rate, I need to divide. So I'm going to, well, I better switch to a different color. That's a little hard to read in green. All right, so I take the 80, which is the numerator, that goes on the inside. And then I place the 0.2 on the outside. Now, it would have been okay if the decimal value was underneath this house. But if the number on the outside has a decimal, you have to make a change. So I need to move this decimal to the right. You will move it to the right until it's at the very end. So I have to move this one time. So that becomes 2. And then if I move this decimal one time, I have to move the decimal in the 80 one time. Now you might look at the 80 and say, I don't see a decimal. When you don't see a decimal, the decimal is hidden on the right, because 80.0 is the same thing as 80. So people normally write 80, not 80.0. So I would move the decimal to the right one time. So I move this once, I move this once, and then there's an extra spot, so I need to put a 0 there. So the number on the inside becomes 800. Now that I don't have a decimal on the outside, I can divide. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. I subtract and get 0. I bring a 0 down. As soon as you bring a number down, you ask the question, how many times does 2 go into 0? The answer to that question goes up here. Well, 0 times. 2 goes into 0 0 times. Then the multiplication, 0 times 2, goes below and you subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. I bring down a 0 again. Then I ask the question. 2 goes into 0 0 times. And 0 times 2 is 0. I get a remainder 0 and there's nothing to bring down, so my answer is 400 for the unit rate. So I come down to part A that says what is the unit rate, and I type in 400, G for gallons, P for per, and then H for hours. 400 gallons per hour. And then what is the equation? Well, to fill out the equation, what we're going to do is we're going to take out K and replace it with what we found the unit rate to be. So instead of K, you're going to write the number 400. So instead of Y equals KX, this is going to read Y equals 400X. And please, please do not forget the X there at the end. A lot of kids forget to write that X. That's the most common mistake I see with the equations. We've written the unit rate, we've written the equations, we've completed this problem.